You know what? I am finding this Ahsoka series to be frustratingly stupid. Case in point. Remember how in Phantom Menace it took Qui-Gon like a good minute to cut through that metal door? Well, in Ahsoka, she slices through the wing of a starfighter like it was nothing. I didn't realize that starships were made out of tissue paper. And remember, folks, Sabine got stabbed through the abdomen in episode 1 and everything's fine. This is stupid. Fatal, not fatal. Fatal, not fatal. I guess lightsabers are deadly only when it's convenient. And let's not forget that starfighters also have shields, making this doubly stupid. It's pretty apparent that Dave Filoni just knows how to do cartoons because that's what the show is feeling like right now. I can see that happening in Rebels and me giving it a pass, but in a live action show, not so much. I just want to swear so loudly right now. Dave Filoni, you mother. All right, I think I got it out of my system. Dave Filoni, you stupid. You know, I didn't realize that this episode was only 34 minutes, but let me tell you, it felt like an hour. It just dragged so badly. And only 3 things happen in this episode, and it has nothing of consequence to pushing the plot forward. We find out that David Tennant's droid is actually pretty based.
On the object, no. However, I have several thoughts on everything else going on.
Not now.
The way you're both acting, there won't be a later.
Disney Star Wars has made space battles boring. And apparently, Morgan Elsbeth only has one stance while monologuing. Oh, and Ray Stevenson is in the episode for like 5 seconds. The episode starts off with Sabine continuing her Jedi training, despite the fact that I don't recall her ever being Force sensitive. This used to be a thing, but apparently not anymore. We get some fantastic snark from David Tennant's droid.
Well?
Not bad, but not good.
It's been a while.
Obviously.
I see you still remember the basics. Enough to get by?
Barely.
How about Zatochi?
Oh no. I'm not certain Lady Wren is ready for that technique.
Even though I edited it down, you can see how painfully drawn out this scene actually is. And now we get something that is supposed to be very reminiscent of Luke training with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Except it's long, drawn out, and boring.
I can't see. How am I supposed to fight?
Remember Star Wars? Remember Luke and Obi-Wan?
This time, let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight?
The whole point of that scene is to establish to the audience that you don't necessarily need your eyes to be able to sense your enemy. We already know this. This is nothing new. And all this shows is the fact that Disney is just recycling better Star Wars at this point because they're creatively dead on the inside. This also reminds me of The Matrix. You know, when Neo's training with Morpheus, except it's nowhere near as entertaining. By the time this training scene ends, we are 6 minutes and 45 seconds into the episode. This also includes the opening credits and this very long and drawn out training scene that is just duller than dust. So this is where
Chancellor Mothma, Senator.
Hera goes and meets with the Rainbow Coalition.
How's young Jason?
I'm sorry.
Fine, Chancellor. In fact, he's
New
on
Republic.
board.
Also, they finally mentioned Jason, and we actually get a scene where we see him. So Hera's trying to convince the Rainbow Coalition that she needs more New Republic forces to go after Thrawn, and they're like, are you sure you're not just looking for Ezra instead, and you're just using Thrawn as an excuse? Which it does kind of come off that way.
That went well.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, you look at that. The show finally remembered that she had as a kid. By the time that scene ends, we are 11 minutes and 30 seconds into the episode, and literally nothing happens. And next, we are treated to the most canon-breaking thing in all of Star Wars, because it literally retcons how the Force works. This is worse than the whole midichlorian thing.
I can't use the Force. I don't feel it. Not like you do.
Force resides in all living things, even you.
If that's true, then why doesn't everyone use it?
Talent is a factor, but training and focus are what truly defines someone's success.
That's not how the Force works.
In order to wield the Force, it requires for someone to be Force sensitive. This is a lame attempt to democratize the Force. The whole idea behind it is that those who have the ability to wield the Force are unique and special, and this is an attempt to erase all of that. And here's why why it's dumb. Every would-be dictator in the galaxy would try to use the Force more. Why? Because they can enforce their will through the dark side. Do you imagine if every Imperial officer had the ability to wield the Force because they just tried harder at it? The galaxy would have a serious Darksider problem. We get more base David Tennant.
So, what do you think of our progress?
She's frustrated, still a challenge for her.
You both knew this wouldn't be easy.
Well, what you said didn't help.
I only spoke the truth. The Jedi Order would not have accepted her. She is not an acceptable candidate.
By their standards.
Standards which were proven over a millennia.
And failed.
No, the standards of the Jedi didn't fail. They were tricked and betrayed by one of their own, and that's ultimately what caused them to fall. The idea that somehow it was because they had standards was the problem is absolutely ludicrous.
You realize, historically, there have been very few Mandalorians who ever became a Jedi.
I don't need Sabine to be a Jedi. I need her to be herself.
Oh, God. To illustrate how padded this show is, we have this transition scene that is roughly 24 seconds. Now I'm playing this at ×2 speed because there's no sense in boring the shit out of you. Any normal show would actually do this.
Sabine, I've got Hera.
Anyway, Hera briefs them on the fact that the New Republic is not willing to help, so there's no reinforcements, and we are treated to this rather condescending scene.
But it's not up to me. I just followed the order.
Yang, what's happened?
We've entered the Denab system. All comm transmissions are being jammed.
Drop from hyperspace.
Why'd we drop out of hyperspace so far from the planet?
Standard Jedi mission protocol when approaching an unknown situation. In order to avoid enemy surveillance,
He's still doing this?
Program it.
Right.
in any case.
Mansplaining, am I right, ladies? It's not like avoiding enemy surveillance is a good thing or something. God. And finally, we get to the world's boringest dogfight in all of Star Wars history. And mind you, these ships literally come out of nowhere. You'd think that there was some sort of capital ship that would have came from. You would think that they would do something useful, like start shooting at the ship or something, but no, they wait. And this is basically what they do for the majority of the dogfight. This whole entire thing, it just feels like it's the exact same shot over and over again until something actually happens. If it felt like they were constantly being beat up and they were on their last limb before they finally took out those starfighters, this scene would be a lot more tense. But it's not. Now mind you, I'm playing this at ×2 speed and I've cut out all the cockpit scenes. And the funny thing about it is you get to see how repetitive this dogfight actually is. I swear it's like the same thing over and over and over again. Good grief, how many times have we seen this shot? I swear it's like 3 or 4 times at this point. But you can see how little imagination and thought actually went into this dogfight. And by the way, I did not reuse any of those clips. That was the entire dogfight scene edited down. And finally, as the ship gets close to the ring, Morgan decides to go and turn the turbo lasers on them.
Prepare turbo lasers.
Which finally does something. At this point, their shields should be shot to shit, and the ship should be blown to atoms, because plot armor. And the reason why they're doing this stupid suicide run towards the ring is so that David Tennant's droid can go and scan it.
Scan complete.
And once the scan is complete, the ship finally takes some damage.
How convenient.
And like I said, in all actuality, the ship should be blown to atoms. And now we're getting yet another callback to The Empire Strikes Back. Remember that scene where Han Solo is charging a Star Destroyer and they go and fake it out? But in this instance, they can't be detected.
Destroyed.
You would think that in a galaxy far, far away with advanced technology that they will be able to use scanners to detect objects floating in space, like a ship floating adrift or an asteroid. But personally, I think this is just another lame attempt to milk member berries, or just another failed attempt to try and create tension. However, Shin-Ha-Ti spots the craft and decides to go and brag about it.
Morgan, congratulations.
You almost got them.
I have eyes on them.
She then proceeds to go in for the kill, but it comes off like that scene from Austin Powers with the steamroller.
Watch out! Watch out!
because it literally takes forever for them to go and intercept the ship. They literally have the ship dead to rights and it should be blown to dust, but no. And here comes my favorite part. Ahsoka Tano steps out onto the ship to fight the starfighters with her lightsabers. You cannot make this shit up. Why they weren't targeting the engines is anybody's guess, but you would think that's what they would aim for because it would blow the ship to hell, along with Sabine and Ahsoka. But I guess I'm just asking for logic here. Anyway, the ship makes a safe landing on the planet and they cut the power, including to the droid once he recovers. And that's pretty much the episode. Oh, did I mention that Ray Stevenson shows up at the very end? Normally, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm just apathetic and I don't care, much like my review for episodes 1 and 2. However, with episode 3, there is just asinine levels of stupidity. It's one thing if it's just bland, boring, and cringy. It's something completely different when it's retarded. I feel like the show is actively insulting the intelligence of the audience. And quite frankly, I find that to be rather offensive. Anyway, that is my take. What is yours? Leave a comment. Hit that thumbs up on the way out and check out my previous review of episode 1 and 2. I'll catch you next time, folks.